So everybody's heard about the story of the Good Samaritan, but sometimes being a Good Samaritan ain't always what it's cracked up to be. This is Story Arcs, and I'm Ark. So there was this time I was in my apartment. I was probably in my mid to late 20s, and I'm just in my house minding my business, like watching TV, having a sandwich, whatever the case may be. Now, when you're in New York and you hear somebody screaming for help, you're better off screaming fire because you'll get more attention than if you're screaming for help. You know what I mean? Like, New Yorkers are they're not interested in helping the next person over. They're too busy doing whatever they're doing. So I'm in the house and I'm minding my business, and all of a sudden I hear this lady screaming, top of her lungs, you know? And I'm thinking to myself, yo, that sounds like somebody getting right? And I'm just like, let me go see what's going on here, you know? So I go to the peephole on my door and I'm looking down the hallway and I can't really see anything, but I'm hearing these screams, you know? So I'm thinking, you know, maybe it's like somebody in their apartment and they're having a fight or something's crazy going on, but I really can't see anything. And so I go back to the living room, but then the screams continue, right? And it's like blood curdling screams, you know, like really, really high screams. So I'm like, all right, let me go out there and see what's going on, you know, because I have no ability to mind my business. And so I go out there and I see that there's this old Russian woman, you know, she's probably like in her 50s, and she's pulling at something, you know, she's like over by where the elevators are and she's pulling at something. So I start walking over there, you know, like kind of angle myself so I could get a better view from a distance. And I noticed that like her hand is trapped in the elevator door. So I run over there, right? Now, where I lived, the elevator doors were seriously heavy, right? Like a grown, strong man would pull that thing and maybe hold it for 2 or 3 seconds. That was it. So her hand is trapped. Somehow, you know, when you got that bar, when the elevator doors close and you hit the bar and it makes the elevator door reopen. So apparently the elevator was escaping from her and she tried to hit the bar, but she missed and the elevator door closed on her hands. So I go over there and I try and jam my hands into like the small little space where her fingers were stuck, you know, and pull it just enough so she could get her hand out. And when I did, I pulled it just enough, but it was so heavy that I had to let go immediately and I almost got my own hands trapped in, you know. So I do that. She gets out and her hands, she obviously must have been in like tremendous pain. And she just looks at me, you know, kind of like a wild animal when you set them free from a trap, you know. She kind of looks at me and she just scurried off. She just ran off, right? And I was like, all right, well, this is, you know, my Good Samaritan episode for the day or whatever. I go back in my house, thinking nothing of it. You know, it's just like, wow, that's crazy. So then the next time I'm out by the elevators, I see old girl out there by the elevators too, you know? And mind you, she was clearly Russian. Like I knew she was Russian. I'd heard her speaking in the past, but you would think like she'd give me a head nod or say, you know, thank you or whatever, say something to me in Russian. Nothing, bro. She just looked at me and then she looked away like I didn't even exist. And I was like, what? Like, you crazy? Like, I'm the one that helped you. You know, I'm the dude that saved you from getting your hands crushed. And she, nothing. Then a couple other times I'd see her like either when I'm going onto the elevator and she's coming off or something like that. She'd look at me and just look away like I didn't even matter. So sometimes being the Good Samaritan ain't all it's cracked up to be.